the National Trade Association representing the biodiesel industry. Welcome.
Chairwoman Velasquez, Ranking Member Graves, members of the committee, I appreciate having the opportunity to testify this morning. I'm here today on behalf of the National Biodiesel Board, the National Trade Association for the U.S. biodiesel industry. Our membership produces a renewable, high-quality diesel replacement fuel that is readily accepted in the marketplace. The U.S. biodiesel industry is the only game in town when it comes to the commercial scale production of biomass-based diesel as defined in the Renewable Fuel Standard. The production and use of biodiesel is consistent with an energy policy that values the displacement of petroleum diesel fuel, and there are significant energy security, environmental, and economic public policy benefits associated with biodiesel use. And in this regard, the biodiesel tax incentive has achieved its desired goal of promoting the domestic production and use of biodiesel. In 2004, the U.S. produced 25 million gallons of fuel. Last year, that number rose to 690 million gallons. The biodiesel tax incentive is primarily structured as a $1 per gallon blender's credit that is triggered when biodiesel is blended with petroleum diesel fuel. The incentive can be used to offset excise tax liability and is refundable to the degree that the credit exceeds the excise tax owed by a taxpayer. The liquidity of this structure is designed to make biodiesel price competitive in the marketplace with diesel fuel. Biodiesel must meet both the ASTM D6751 fuel specification and the EPA's Clean Air Act registration requirements to qualify for the incentive. Last year's tax extender package provided a one-year extension of the credit, and thus the incentive is currently set to expire at the end of this year. Due to volatile commodity prices, unfavorable market conditions, difficulty accessing operating capital, and uncertainty regarding federal policy, the U.S. biodiesel industry is facing severe economic challenges. The industry's viability and the nation's ability to reap the policy benefits associated with domestic biodiesel production will be seriously compromised if the biodiesel tax incentive is allowed to lapse at the end of the year. It is difficult for small businesses and investors to make long-term business decisions based on year-to-year extensions of the biodiesel tax incentive. A multiple-year extension of the incentive is absolutely necessary to provide the certainty and stability that is needed in the marketplace. NBB also supports a structural reform of the tax incentive. Restructuring the current blender's credit as a production excise tax credit of equal value will streamline administration of the credit and promote tax compliance while preserving the liquidity of the existing incentive. This reform proposal is encompassed in S-1589, the Biodiesel Tax Incentive Reform and Extension Act of 2009, which has been introduced in the Senate by Senators Cantwell and Grassley. Representative Pomeroy will be introducing the House version of this legislation in the near future. There are several shortcomings associated with the current blender's credit that would be remedied by restructuring the incentive as a production credit. Since biodiesel blending can occur at multiple stages in the distribution chain, it can be difficult to ensure that only qualifying fuel receives the credit. This also makes it difficult for both taxpayers and the IRS to determine when a fuel becomes subject to the federal 24.3 cent per gallon diesel fuel excise tax. The IRS is currently pursuing several courses of action designed to collect this excise tax liability, and would be what they are pondering would be particularly burdensome and onerous on small business. A change to a production credit in tandem with treating biodiesel as regular diesel fuel for tax purposes would remove the need for these regulatory burdens while improving tax compliance. A change to a production credit would also stop abusive transshipment schemes. With NBB's full support, Congress last year closed the so-called splash and dash loophole that had previously allowed foreign-produced fuel to enter the United States, claim the biodiesel tax incentive, and then be sent to a third country for end use. Now, if you think about that, there's clearly no energy or tax policy justification for these sort of transactions. With that said, the current blender's credit could still inadvertently allow for other potential abuses associated with the transshipment of foreign fuel through the U.S., and a change to a production excise tax credit would remedy this problem in a WTO-consistent manner. In conclusion, the biodiesel tax incentive has helped achieve the desired goal of increasing domestic production and use of biodiesel. These benefits, however, will be lost if the biodiesel tax incentive is allowed to lapse at the end of the year. The NBB, on behalf of the U.S. biodiesel industry, urges Congress to provide a multi-year extension of a reformed incentive. Again, Chairwoman Velasquez, Ranking Member Graves, members of the committee, I really appreciate having the opportunity to testify this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Feraci. And the chair recognizes Mr. Ellsworth for the purpose of introducing our next witness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a